Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's lesson. How are you today? I hope you are doing well and ready to learn something new. Have you ever watched someone move forward in life and wondered what they have that you don't? Same city, similar background, but completely different results. Is it luck? Is it money? Or is it something else? I used to think successful people were simply fortunate, born into the right family, given the right opportunities. But slowly, I discovered something more interesting. Most of them think differently, not smarter, not better, just differently. The way you think shapes your daily choices. Your choices build your habits. Your habits quietly create your future. This chain starts inside your mind, nowhere else. When I began changing how I thought about problems, time, and mistakes, something shifted. My actions changed, and when actions change, results follow eventually. In today's lesson, you will discover simple ideas from a rich-minded way of thinking. How successful people view learning, failure, responsibility, and growth. These are not complicated concepts. They are practical and honest lessons for everyday life. Easy English, real ideas, useful for anyone. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. Lesson 1. Rich people think about opportunities. Two people lose their job on the same day. Same situation, same difficulty, same uncertainty ahead. The first person thinks, "This is terrible. Everything is falling apart. I don't know what to do." They feel stuck. They wait. They worry. Weeks pass and nothing changes. The second person thinks, "This is hard, but maybe something better is possible now." They start asking questions. They look around. They try something different. Slowly, a new direction appears. Same situation, completely different outcomes. The only difference was the first thought each person chose. Many people see problems first. This is natural. The human brain is wired for caution. It notices danger before opportunity. This helped our ancestors survive difficult situations. But in modern life, this habit can quietly trap you. Every challenge looks like a dead end. Every obstacle feels permanent. Rich-minded people think differently, not because life is easier for them, not because they avoid difficulty, but because they trained themselves to ask a different question. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I do with this?" That small shift changes everything. I try to ask myself one question when something goes wrong. What can I learn here? Not immediately. Sometimes I need a moment first, but eventually that question appears, and it always finds something useful. A lesson, a new direction, a hidden strength I did not know existed before. You can train your mind to find possibilities too. Start small. When something frustrating happens today, pause. Take one breath. Then ask, "Is there anything useful inside this situation?" You will not always find a perfect answer, but the habit of asking slowly rewires how your brain responds to difficulty. Every problem carries something teachable. A failed plan teaches you what does not work. A difficult relationship teaches you about boundaries. A financial struggle teaches you about priorities. Nothing is completely wasted when you look carefully enough. Success rarely arrives from perfect conditions. It usually grows from someone who looked at an imperfect situation and found something worth building inside it. Start looking differently. The opportunities were always there. Lesson 2. Time is more important than money. Imagine you lost $100 today. Disappointing, stressful, but manageable. You could earn it back. Work a little harder. Spend more carefully next month. The money returns eventually. Now imagine you lost 3 hours today. Scrolling without purpose, watching content that taught you nothing, sitting in a conversation that drained your energy completely. That time is not coming back, ever. This difference is something many people understand intellectually, but never truly feel. Money feels precious because it is visible. You count it. You save it. You notice immediately when it disappears. But time leaves silently. No alarm sounds. No number decreases on a screen. It simply passes. And then it is gone. Rich-minded people understand this deeply. Not all of them have more money than everyone else. But they share one common characteristic. They treat their time like something genuinely valuable. They ask before committing to anything, "Is this worth my hours?" That question changes decisions significantly. I try not to waste time on things that give nothing back. This does not mean every moment must be productive. Rest is valuable. Enjoyment matters. But there is a difference between intentional rest and mindless drifting. One refills you. The other simply empties your day without leaving anything behind. Small free moments are more powerful than most people believe. 10 minutes waiting for a bus, 15 minutes during a lunch break, 20 minutes before sleeping. These windows feel too short to matter. But they are not. 10 minutes of focused English listening daily adds up to over 60 hours across 1 year. 60 hours of learning from what most people considered wasted waiting time. 20 minutes every day creates remarkable results over months. Not because 20 minutes is long, but because consistency applied to any skill compounds over time. A small daily deposit into any area of your life grows into something substantial. Language ability, financial knowledge, mental strength, physical health, all of them respond to consistent small effort. Most people wait for large blocks of free time before they begin something meaningful. That perfect Saturday with nothing scheduled. That quiet week with no responsibilities. But large free blocks rarely arrive. And even when they do, the habit of using time well was never built. So the hours disappear anyway. Use what you already have. The small moments scattered through your ordinary day are enough to build something real. Time is one of your greatest assets. Spend it like you know that. Lesson 3. Learning never stops. Think about the last time you learned something completely new. Not for an exam, not because someone required it, but simply because you were curious. Because something interested you and you wanted to understand it better. For many people, that moment was a long time ago. School teaches us many things, but it also teaches us one unintentional lesson. That learning has a finish line. You study, you pass, you graduate. And somewhere in that process, many people decide that the learning chapter of their life is complete. But that finish line was never real. The world changes constantly. New skills become valuable. Old methods become outdated. Information that was accurate 5 years ago may no longer apply today. A person who stopped learning After school is navigating a changing world with an unchanging map. Eventually, the directions stop making sense. Rich-minded people understand this clearly. They treat learning as a permanent part of life, not a phase, not an obligation, a natural and ongoing habit. They read books outside their comfort zone. They listen to ideas that challenge their current thinking. They ask questions in conversations instead of pretending to already know everything. I try to read and listen to useful content regularly, not always for hours, sometimes just a short article, a brief podcast during a walk, a single interesting idea before sleeping. These small inputs accumulate quietly. One week they seem insignificant. 1 year later, the difference in perspective and knowledge becomes very real. You can learn something every single day without a structured plan. A conversation with someone experienced teaches you something. A mistake at work teaches you something. A book read slowly and honestly teaches you something. Even a difficult moment in your personal life, examined carefully, reveals a lesson worth keeping. Small lessons become large knowledge over time. This is not motivational language. It is simply how knowledge builds. Each new piece connects to something already understood. The connections multiply. Understanding deepens. What once seemed complicated begins feeling familiar and manageable. Continuous learning also protects your mind. An active and curious mind stays sharper longer. It adapts better to unexpected situations. It finds creative solutions more naturally. Learning is not just professional development. It is mental maintenance. You do not need a classroom. You do not need a certificate. You need curiosity and consistency. Keep learning. The lessons available to you right now are everywhere. Lesson 4. Failure is a teacher. Nobody talks about their failures at dinner. Nobody posts their worst moments online. Everyone shares the success story, the final result, the happy ending. And because we only see other people's victories, we start believing that successful people simply did not fail. But that belief is completely wrong. Nobody succeeds all the time. Every person who built something meaningful made serious mistakes along the way. Wrong decisions, embarrassing moments, plans that collapsed entirely, projects that failed publicly. These experiences are not exceptions to the success story. They are essential chapters inside it. Mistakes are part of progress, not an interruption to progress. Actually part of it. When something goes wrong, new information appears. Information that could not have arrived any other way. You discover what does not work. You find a weakness you did not know existed. You learn something about yourself under pressure. All of this is valuable. All of this moves you forward, even when it feels like falling backward. Rich-minded people respond to failure differently. They feel disappointment. Of course they do. Failure is uncomfortable for everyone. But after that initial feeling settles, they ask a different question. Not, why does this always happen to me? But what exactly went wrong here, and what can I adjust? I try to ask myself that question honestly after mistakes. It requires some courage. Looking clearly at your own errors without making excuses is not comfortable. But it is enormously useful. Each honest examination reveals something actionable, something you can actually change next time. You can improve after every single mistake if you are willing to examine it. One failed conversation teaches you about communication. One poor financial decision teaches you about priorities. One collapsed plan teaches you about preparation. The lesson is always inside the failure. You just need to look for it instead of running away. Failure is not the end of your story. It is often the most important turning point within it. Keep going. The best lessons are sometimes the most painful ones. Lesson 5. Take responsibility for your life. Something goes wrong. Immediately, the mind searches for a reason. And very often, that reason points outward, toward other people, toward circumstances, toward bad timing, toward unfair systems, toward anything outside of yourself. This is completely natural. And sometimes, external factors genuinely do cause problems. Life is not always fair. Circumstances affect outcomes. Other people's behavior impacts your situation. These things are real. But here is where many people get stuck. Blaming is easy. It requires nothing from you. When everything wrong in your life belongs to someone else, you can relax. You do not need to change. You do not need to examine yourself honestly. You just wait for the external world to fix itself. And waiting feels much more comfortable than acting. But waiting does not produce results, and comfort does not produce growth. Taking responsibility is harder, much harder. It means looking honestly at your own choices, acknowledging where your decisions contributed to your current situation, admitting that some things could have been handled differently. This process is uncomfortable. Sometimes it is painful, but it is also the only genuine path toward improvement. Rich-minded people focus on what they can actually control. This distinction is crucial. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control other people's opinions. You cannot control unexpected events. Spending energy trying to manage these things is exhausting and pointless. That energy disappears without producing anything useful. But you can always control your response, your attitude toward difficulty, the effort you bring to each day, the habits you maintain when motivation disappears, the way you treat people around you, the decisions you make with the resources currently available. These things belong entirely to you. Nobody can take that control away. I cannot control everything that happens in my life. This took time to accept honestly. There are situations where I did everything reasonably well and things still went wrong. External forces exist and they matter. But I learned something important through those experiences. Focusing on what I could not control left me feeling helpless. Focusing on what I could control gave me energy and direction. That shift changed how I approached problems completely. You become genuinely stronger when you take responsibility. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop waiting for external conditions to improve before you begin moving. You start working with what exists right now. Limited resources, imperfect circumstances, real challenges. And you find that more is possible within those limitations than you previously believed. Personal growth starts at exactly this point. Not when everything is perfect. Not when everyone around you behaves correctly. Not when circumstances finally become favorable. Growth starts the moment you decide that your life direction belongs primarily to you. This is not about blaming yourself for everything. That is equally unhelpful. It is about finding the honest middle ground, acknowledging real external difficulties, while simultaneously refusing to surrender your personal agency to them. Look at your current situation honestly today. Something you are unhappy about. Ask one simple question. What part of this can I actually influence? Then start there. That small beginning is where everything changes. Lesson 6. Save before you spend. Money arrives, and almost immediately it starts leaving. A new phone, a nicer restaurant, a small treat because the week was difficult, another purchase because something was on sale. Each decision feels reasonable alone, but together, they quietly consume everything that came in. And at the end of the month, nothing remains. This pattern is extremely common, and it feels completely normal because most people around you live the same way. But common is not the same as smart. Many people follow an unconscious order. Earn, spend. Hope something remains. Rich-minded people often reverse this sequence deliberately. Earn. Save a portion first, then spend whatever is left. This single change in order produces dramatically different results over time. Saving first requires an honest conversation with yourself, not about how much you earn, but about what you actually need versus what simply feels appealing in the moment. These two categories are very different. Needs are limited. Wants are endless. And advertising exists specifically to blur the line between them. I try to pause before purchasing something. Not forever. Just briefly. One simple question. Do I genuinely need this right now, or does it just feel good to want it? That pause saves more money than any complicated financial system. Because most impulse purchases cannot survive even 30 seconds of honest examination. You do not need everything you want. This sounds obvious, but in a world designed to create desire constantly, reminding yourself regularly matters. Wanting something strongly does not make it necessary. Discomfort from not having something passes surprisingly quickly. The financial pressure from buying things you cannot truly afford lasts much longer. Smart saving creates freedom gradually, not immediately. The first month of saving feels insignificant. The first year feels slow. But something real is building underneath. A small financial cushion changes how you feel about daily life. Unexpected expenses become manageable instead of catastrophic. Opportunities become accessible instead of impossible. Good habits start with genuinely small choices. Saving 10% of whatever you receive. Choosing a less expensive option occasionally. Waiting one day before buying something attractive. These actions seem minor. Practiced consistently across months and years, they create a completely different financial reality. Small savings grow. Slowly, but they grow. Lesson 7. Focus on solutions. Every life has problems. This is not pessimism. This is simply reality. Difficult situations arrive for everyone. Rich people, healthy people, kind people, intelligent people. Nobody receives a life completely free from challenges. The difference is never the absence of problems. The difference is always the response to them. When something goes wrong, two paths appear immediately. The first path is complaining, talking about how unfair the situation is, explaining to everyone why this should not have happened, replaying the problem repeatedly in your mind. This path feels natural. It even feels productive sometimes, but it produces nothing useful. The problem remains exactly where it was, only now you are also exhausted. The second path is solution-focused thinking, acknowledging that something is wrong, then immediately asking, what can actually be done here? This path requires more mental effort, but it moves you forward instead of keeping you stationary. Rich-minded people choose the second path consistently, not because they feel no frustration, but because they understand that frustration without action is simply wasted energy, and energy is too valuable to waste. I ask myself one question when difficulty appears. What can I do next? Not why did this happen, not who is responsible. Just, what is my next possible action? That question shifts everything. It moves attention from the unchangeable past toward the actionable present. You can choose where your energy goes. Worry consumes energy without producing results. Action consumes similar energy but creates actual progress. Same cost. Completely different outcome. Start with the smallest possible action. One phone call, one honest conversation, one adjusted plan. Movement in any useful direction breaks the paralysis that problems create. Complaining describes the obstacle. Solutions remove it. Choose solutions every time you can. Lesson 8. Think about the future. Every decision you make today is a message to your future self. A small deposit or a small withdrawal. A step forward or a step sideways. Most people never think about it this way. They simply react to what feels right in this moment. But this moment is connected to every moment that follows. Rich-minded people think beyond today, not obsessively, not anxiously, but with quiet awareness. Before making a significant choice, they ask a simple question. How will I feel about this decision 1 year from now? That question creates useful distance between impulse and action. Short-term thinking feels natural. Your brain prefers immediate rewards. Something pleasurable now feels more real than something beneficial later. This is human biology. But biology can be gently redirected with conscious practice. I ask myself regularly how today's choices affect tomorrow. Not every small decision needs deep analysis, but important ones deserve a moment of forward thinking. Spending money I plan to save feels satisfying immediately, but 3 months later, that satisfaction disappears. The missing savings remain absent much longer than the pleasure lasted. Long-term thinking applies beyond finances. It shapes health decisions, relationship choices, learning habits, career directions. A person who thinks long-term chooses the difficult conversation today to build a stronger relationship tomorrow. They exercise when motivation is absent because future health matters more than present comfort. Patience becomes easier when you trust the process. Good results rarely arrive quickly. A garden planted today does not feed you tomorrow. But consistent care across seasons produces something real and lasting. You can practice future thinking simply. Before any significant choice, pause briefly. Ask one question. Does this serve who I want to become? That answer usually knows the right direction. Lesson 9. Invest in yourself. Most people think about investment as something external. Stocks, property, businesses, money placed somewhere outside yourself with the hope it grows over time. But the most reliable investment available to anyone costs very little money and produces returns that never disappear. That investment is you. Your skills travel everywhere with you. A financial investment can lose value overnight. A property can decrease in worth. Markets change unpredictably. But knowledge acquired genuinely, a skill practiced consistently, a habit built carefully, these cannot be taken away. They remain yours permanently regardless of external circumstances. Rich-minded people understand this deeply. They spend time and energy deliberately on their own development, not because someone requires it, but because they recognize that a better version of themselves produces better results in every area of life. I spend time regularly learning things that make me more capable. Sometimes this means studying something directly related to work. Sometimes it means improving communication skills. Sometimes it simply means reading something that expands my perspective. Each session adds something small. Accumulated across months, those small additions become significant. You can improve your communication starting today. How you express ideas clearly, how you listen carefully, how you handle difficult conversations calmly. These abilities affect every relationship and every professional situation you encounter. Stronger communication opens doors that talent alone sometimes cannot. Improving your English is also self-investment. Every lesson practiced builds something permanent inside your brain. Every new sentence understood expands what is accessible to you. Language ability connects you to opportunities, people, and ideas that monolingual thinking cannot reach. Knowledge genuinely opens new doors. Not immediately, not dramatically, but consistently and reliably over time. Invest in yourself today. The returns last a lifetime. That is everything for today's lesson. What about you? Do you still make time to learn something new each day? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow.